everyone, and welcome to the Align Your Life Wellness Show. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Jenny Parks. I am a health and prosperity coach. We're here every Wednesday at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just bringing you information that has to do with health, wellness, and just really living a life of fulfillment. Today, my guest is Jennifer Malins. She is back. Jennifer's here typically every second Wednesday of the month. She's a fellow integrative nutrition coach, heart math coach, and now a published author of a book which we have on display right here called Soul Destination, which is ways to step into and discover your life of authenticity, fulfillment, freedom, and inspiration. So welcome, Jennifer, back. Always love when you're here.
Thank you.
Today we're going to kind of dive into the book, which I'm really excited about because Jennifer has put together really great information from her own journey of self-discovery and self-fulfillment. So different paths of how to get to that place in your life of really living from an authentic and fun and happy, joyful space, right?
Exactly. Every day.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. And so you have the last few weeks been really just promoting your book out and about in front of people, talking about it.
I have. It is a full-time job.
Yes.
Which
a fun one,
tells
though.
You. Yes, it's fun, but you know, when you're trying to run a business and promote your book, it's like, wow, I feel like I have two full-time jobs.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize whether you self-publish or go through a publisher, you have to do a ton of marketing. You know, and you really could spend all day 24/7 on marketing your book because you know, some people might think, oh, you put it on Amazon and it just, you know, magically all these people are drawn to your book and you're just going to, you know, get on the New York Times bestseller overnight and all of that. And it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
You have to, especially if you're an unknown author. So this is my first book publication. So no one's going to search Jennifer Malins to see if I've written a book. I'm not Stephen King. It means people aren't going to do a keyword search on my name, nor are they probably going to search Soul Destination. They're not going to be thinking about, ooh, I want to learn about my soul's destination.
Right.
Let's do a keyword search. So you really have to you have to get out there and promote it through various you know, methods, whether it's social media, whether it's, you know, like
getting in front of people.
Getting in front of people.
Getting in front of people
you're
at
so
stores.
nice to let me be on the show and promote my book. So, you know, going out to New York, I did a kind of a launch, started my launch out there and promoted it at Whole Foods at Columbus Circle. And
that is so exciting.
Yeah.
So everyone sees the glory but not the story, right? Yeah. Everyone sees the finished product and the amazingness of it, but they don't know all the work that goes into it.
A lot of hard work.
So I'm sure that you've probably had to also take your own advice. Yes. Maybe even read the book yourself.
Yes, actually.
As you've gone through.
I think the most nerve-wracking experience is pressing that submit button.
Absolutely.
When you agree, like the publisher will send you back the manuscript, and you have to look through it again really carefully and make sure that you agree with, you know, you don't want to change anything. And then you press that submit button, and then it's out to the world.
That's it.
And it was like walking down the aisle to get married or something. It's like...
Are my feet cold? I don't know.
Okay. You know, it was so nerve-wracking.
Oh, awesome.
But
so
it's
cool
done.
to be on the other side of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So where shall we start? I have read a little bit of the book, not the whole thing yet. Where do you want to start with? I know there's 8 different paths that you outline, and we wanted to just kind of share some of that and then some of the tips that go along with those different paths.
Right. So I'm glad you said that you haven't read it all yet, because when people say, oh yeah, I read your book over the weekend, you're not getting it.
Right, exactly.
It's not meant to be read really quickly. So, you know, if you listeners out there have had a chance to get the book and you've just been slowly moving your way through it, that's totally fine. That's how it was intended or designed to be read. And so really it's 8 different paths, as Jenny said, and you can start wherever you want in the book. And really contain. Yeah, I mean, it's really all about you and what's calling to you at this particular time. And so you could start, for example, with the nature path, which is the first chapter, or you could start with the chapter on relationships, which is the last chapter. And you read through it and work on some of those tips. So I give you homework at the end. It's called Walk the Path. And do as many or as few of them as you feel called to do, and then give it some time to sink in. So when you're developing new habits, that's what this is really about, is giving you a new perspective, shifting that perspective, but also helping you develop new habits by really hands-on techniques that you can use and incorporate into your everyday life so that you can become balanced, conscious, and therefore become inspired and feel freedom.
I love that you brought that point up to pick what is speaking to you now, because we're all wired differently.
Right.
You're never going to find a book that is 100% speaking to your exact situation at this exact moment,
Right.
in time of your life. And so, same thing with personal growth and development. It takes time.
Sure.
It's not a one-stop shop. It's not an overnight sensation or instant gratification kind of thing. It's ongoing forever, right? So, and that's kind of what this is really instilling those new or maybe old ideas that you already know about, concepts and situations, but putting them into practice. And I know that you implement them or assist people with implementing them in very simple ways, because the simpler it is, the more apt we are to be able to stick with it and to slow down and to really take our time with it, I think.
Sure. I mean, you don't have to go to the mountaintops in Tibet to make this transformation, but you do have to do the practice and you have to do the work every day. So one of the things that people often ask me, like when I'm working a booth or doing some kind of promotion, is what is the book about? And my answer really depends on who you are. So if I don't know you, I think the easiest way to describe it is it's a book about how to be stress-free in all areas of your life. Whereas if you're a yogi, for example, I might say, well, it's about how to take your yoga practice off the mat and into everyday life.
Cool. I love that.
If you're religious, then it's how to go beyond just going to church, mosque, synagogue, temple, or whatever once a week, and then kind of forgetting about your spiritual path or your religious path, but how to incorporate these techniques in all areas of your life, because that's what a spiritual path or religious path is supposed to be, is how to be a better person, how to reach your soul's potential, and that ultimately is what the book is about. But even if you're an atheist, you can get a lot out of the book, because these techniques will also help you just rebalance and relax and be able to handle the stressors of life better.
Awesome. And so you were inspired to write the book because of your own path, as I mentioned earlier, and these are all things that spoke to you. I'm sure that there are other things that you've done on your path of self-discovery, but I think these are probably all things that have spoke the loudest to you, and kept you where you want to be in your personal development and involvement in your life. Is that right?
Absolutely. I mean, I mentioned this in the introduction, so I won't give away too much, but I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt really stressed, and this happened many, many times. I mean, I had horrible sleep issues.
Who can relate to that?
Oh yes. We're all way too stressed out. Absolutely. And so I woke up, but this particular night was different, and I just felt, in the midst of stress, I felt this inspiration, and I thought, well, how can I get to this point all the time when I'm stressed? And I started thinking about all the techniques over the years that had helped me relax and de-stress and be able to cope with life better. And I thought, well, I'm going to start writing them all down, because they're all in my head, and that's why I forget to practice. And I'm a very book-oriented person, and I need to have things in front of me on paper, so I'm just going to write them all down. And then as I started to, I realized, oh, wait a minute, this looks kind of like a book. These are chapters of a book. I really should share this with other people. And so that's why I decided to do it. I didn't set out writing this intending to publish it or share it with anyone, just for myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, we have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. And when we come back, we'll get into some of the good stuff inside the book and share some amazing tips that Jennifer has produced from her own journey. We'll be right back. welcome back, everyone. My name is Jenny Parks, here with Jennifer Malins. Today we're talking about her book, Soul Destination. And inside are 8 paths to really rediscovering yourself and living a life of authenticity. She shared with us briefly before some of the different ways that she explains what the book is about, because it's so much more than that. But we're actually going to get into a little bit of that right now. Talk about some of the 8 different paths. So where would you like to start?
Let's start with the first chapter. I don't think I've talked about that on the show yet.
Okay.
It's the Druid's Path, so ground yourself in nature. And so I was inspired by the ancient Druids of England, who were, the word Druid means wise people of the oak, and they were known to worship in groves. So nature and the outdoors, that was considered to be their temple. They didn't believe in worshiping in man-made temples, that the outdoors, that's where the divine was. And I grew up that way as well. I mean, I grew up on 56 acres of mostly forest, with a little bit of a mowed hilltop there, but it's mostly forest.
It's in Indiana, so you don't get too many hills
Southern
here.
Indiana, yeah, Southern Indiana, and there wasn't a lot to do. I mean, it was really just cornfields and cows and trees. I mean, that's it. So I spent a lot of time out in the woods because my brother and I would be locked out of the house and told to play. And, so we found things to do. You use your imagination, and I feel like nature taught me a lot. And one of the things I touch on in the book is the idea of eco-psychology. So it's this emerging science of nature and people's interaction with nature.
Love it.
And because our world has become so dependent on technology, I mean, here we are on TV, and you and I were shutting off our iPhones before this started, but we become so dependent on it and so used to just being in our homes, being in our cars, that we've really become disconnected with nature. And we're doing a lot of horrible things to nature. I mean, there's so many different species of trees, for example, that don't even exist anymore on the Appalachian Trail. I mean, they've been cut down for logging purposes. And we've been really disrespectful to nature. And what a lot of us don't realize is that we're part of nature. We're not separate from it. And so the idea of eco-psychology is really studying that relationship between humans and the natural world. And one of the tips that I give, there's a really interesting study that was done. If you Google or do a keyword search on NASA houseplants, that should pull up the study. And it's a study of that NASA did to see which houseplants were the best at removing certain types of toxins and cleaning the air in their space station. And so it'll tell you which plants are best at removing which types of toxins. So you should go out into nature a lot more. I mean, plan on it a little bit every day if you can. Just go on a walk, go on a longer walk, go out alone in nature, maybe to a park, and just observe nature at least once a week. But you can also bring in nature to you, and that can really detoxify your home, because we have a lot of toxins in our home. So I recently gave a quick presentation on cleansing, and I told my listeners, I said, even if you are super healthy, I mean, I eat all organic food. I know you do too. You and I cleanse all the time. I mean, it's really a daily thing because of the things that we eat. And I mean, we eat a really, really good diet. We exercise regularly, but we're still toxic.
Yeah, we're breathing air right now.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly. If you breathe the air, you're toxic.
If you're wearing clothes,
if you have furniture in your home, you're toxic. I mean, there are a lot of flame retardants in furniture in your home, and that can really wreak havoc on your liver and your hormones. And so a way to detox your home is actually by bringing nature into your home. So that is one of the tips I give from nature chapter.
I love that, and I love that you mentioned the Appalachian Trail. I was just telling you, my husband and I were there not too long ago, and I just kept telling him when we were up in the mountains, especially 5,000 feet in the air, just breathe this in, because this is about the purest air we're ever going to breathe, at least for the next several months. When, coming back to Indiana, you're certainly not getting that here. But I also read something there that said the air quality had decreased 60% in the last 40 years. Wow. That's a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yes.
And so, and that's in the Smoky Mountains, where they don't have all of this stuff that they don't have stoplights, all around the mountains. There are cars going up and down the mountains, but not all of the stuff that we have on every street corner or anything like that. So it's a great point. I love that you bring that up in the book, because I think it's also really educational, and informative. And nature and how connected we are to nature is something that has become so lost. And you think about kids today, on that generation specifically. I mean, do they even know what that means? Probably not. You know, so many children are inside now in front of their game stations or whatever you call them now. I don't even know.
Shows how hip we are.
They're Atari.
Atari.
But, you know, it's just we're in front of the TV doing whatever. And I was the same as you when I was little. I didn't grow up on all that acreage, but I was outside all the time. And that's where I always, even when I was young, I felt connected. I loved to climb trees and read books, you know, and things like that. So I love that that's there. I think it's educating people as well as assisting them.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jenny, because if you have parents, or if you're parents and you have kids, kick your kids outside.
Yes, please. Lock them out like your parents did.
Seriously. I mean, it's summer. It's not like I'm not saying to do this in 32-degree weather, but it's summer. Do not let them sit in front of the TV and play video games all day. I know they want to, but too bad. Yeah. They don't get to. Because they really do need to be outside and get their vitamin D, get their sunshine. And they may be really mad at you at first, but be prepared for that. But after a while, kids are so imaginative. They have a way better imagination than we do. I don't know where it goes as we get older, but they're so imaginative. They will find things to do. When my brother was little, you could give him a stick and he'd find all kinds of things to do with it. It'd be a sword, it'd be a baseball bat, and you find things to do out in nature.
Absolutely.
But also, just the TV actually really hurts your child's ability to create mental imagery, which will hurt their reading comprehension and their ability to follow directions and communicate in general. And then all the video games really trains your brain to get instant gratification. And so it's really hard, it can be really hard for you to focus on something for an extended period of time if you're used to just constantly changing tasks so often. So, that's another downfall of not being out in nature and spending most of the time indoors with electronics.
It's a good point. I saw something on Facebook today that said something about every day go outside for a few minutes and spend some time in nature. And if you're too busy, do it for an hour.
Exactly.
Right? Because, good point, we all deserve to be outside and really should take that time, adults and children alike.
Exactly.
So what are some tips then from that particular chapter that you give people to integrate that into their life?
Well, one of the things is to plan to spend some time, like you said, go out in nature every day, but plan to spend some time alone outside in nature at least once a week, and do it for at least 20 minutes at a time. And one of the things that you can do is pick something to focus on and think of all the things that you can notice. Just see what you can notice about that particular rock, tree, whatever it is that you're focusing on. Another thing you can do, so these exercises are all meditative, in case you go outside and you're just bored and you don't know what to do. Another thing you can do, and this is what I used to do as a kid, is I used to sit on the stoop after I got kicked out of the house, and I would just, think, okay, so how many sounds can I notice? And I would notice maybe a bird and a car going by on the highway down the road. But then I would notice, oh, no, actually I hear 4 or 5 different bird calls, and I actually hear some insects, and I hear 2 different sized animals walking around in the woods. And there are just so many things that you notice when you start to count the sounds. So I would go outside and think, okay, I only hear 5 sounds, and then it would go up to 15 because there were things that I just wasn't noticing. So it really gets you to slow down and pay attention to the details and smell the flowers, to use a cliche.
Absolutely.
So those are some tips that I would give, and some things that you can do when you're outside in nature. And don't put on your headphones and go running through the forest. I mean, that doesn't count. I mean, you can do that, but that doesn't count as your nature time. You need to go and walk very slowly and just take note of everything around you.
Increase your awareness,
Absolutely.
Get in the present moment. We all live so far out of that. So it's really about bringing us back into that space where we were meant to be, really, right?
Absolutely.
Well, we have to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll continue the discussion with more tips from Jennifer. I could talk about nature all day. Are we still Welcome back, everyone. Here today with Jennifer Malins, author of Soul Destination. She's also a fellow certified integrative nutrition coach and heart math coach, and she's on the show every second Wednesday. Today we're talking about her book, which was just published, and essentially is about really stepping into a life of fulfillment and authenticity. So we were talking about the different paths. We've talked about the first chapter. What's another good one that you'd like to talk about?
The artist's path.
The artist. We're all artists. Whether you think you're creative or not, you are.
Exactly. So it's about unlocking your creative flow and different ways that you can do that. And one book, I just want to make sure I say this right now so I don't forget, but The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. If you are a blocked artist, or you want to pursue something more artistic, you just want to be more creative or see what you have in there, I think everyone should read that book.
I think so too.
You've read it, right?
No, I've heard of it though, and I just feel like so many people, you hear so many people say, I'm not creative, but yes, you are. You're human.
Absolutely, absolutely. We all have different ways of being creative. So not all of us are writers, not all of us are painters. I'm certainly not a visual artist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm good with words, not so much with paint and canvas. A little dangerous, but it's a really amazing book. And like my book, it's not meant to be just read. You actually have to do the practice. You have to really commit. So it's a 12-week program, or I think she even refers to it as a 12-step program for blocked artists or recovering artists. And you have to, for example, get up every morning and do your morning pages, just 3 pages of free writing, first thing in the morning. And you have to go on your artist date. So I mentioned the artist date in the book, so I thought this was really great. And artist date is when it's a date with yourself. And I think she recommends about an hour a week where you go somewhere by yourself and just follow your sense of spontaneity and just do whatever calls to you. So you might go to an antique shop. You might buy a bunch of stickers at the dollar store and put them on your notebook. I mean, even if it seems childish, you just go and you do it.
Love
so
it.
I mentioned her book in my book because I think it's absolutely fantastic. And when I did that program, I did it several years ago, colors started to pop out in strange ways. It was like I was having some kind of trip without the drugs. Not that I would know, because I've never done drugs, but I imagine that's what it would be like.
That's awesome.
And I thought, this is crazy. And I just started, I started painting with pastels, and I'm terrible at painting, but it was so much fun. Started working with mosaics, just exploring things that I've never done before. And I decided at that point, I'm always going to do something creative. I'm not going to just allow myself to be a cog in the wheel anymore. And then another tip I give that kind of goes along those same lines of being spontaneous is play with the child, but let the child lead, because we all tend to be very structured about how we play. And kids are so much
play
more
is
creative.
Not structured.
They're just, you just kind of do what they do. If they're jumping up and down and yelling, then you do the same. You might do finger paints. I actually brought finger paints over to a dinner party once because everyone was really stressed out, and it was so cute to see. I mean, we were all adults.
That is too funny. I love it.
It was so cute just to see people. Like you could tell who the really structured people were, who really needed to relax a little, because they would try to make it perfect and make it look like a real work of art. And then there was one gal who I really appreciated, and she was in touch with that inner child. She just got it all over her hands and putting it on the paper, and she just had so much fun. She just let go.
Awesome.
And if we can all learn to let go that way and just be creative and don't worry about the end product, but just go with the flow and be spontaneous, it really opens up a lot of creative doors.
Yeah, I love that so much for so many reasons, but I love to just get lost in things like that. And like you said, just whatever it is that you feel like doing, go do it. And people say, I don't have time. How do you do that? You probably don't have kids, or you're probably not married, or no. Some people actually put themselves first occasionally, and that's really what this is about, is just putting yourself first, taking care of you. And really, I love nothing more than just having a putz around. Sometimes I'll have a whole putz day where it's just whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. It doesn't have to be anything phenomenal. It can be like what she was talking about, or walk in the woods. That was what I did on Sunday. So it's just whatever you feel like doing, and it's such a great way to decompress and to just really turn your brain off, because we are so on all the time that you forget what it's like to not be on, and we really require that in our life.
We do. And I'm glad you brought up the whole having kids thing, because when I was writing the book, I was actually working with a client who was a stay-at-home mom with a 4-year-old with a learning challenge and a baby who was about 35 pounds.
So how many excuses could she have made?
And
right?
Exactly, because she said, well, she told me, she said, I can't remember the last time I ate sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I'm always eating standing up. I'm always taking care of the kids. They're on completely different schedules. You know, it was very, I mean, you could tell she was incredibly stressed out. She was a recovering artist, so she is a really great photographer, hadn't done anything with her art since she had kids. And I said, well, you've got to make time. And we talked about, you know, working that into her schedule and what she decided to do, because she said, you know, I've got to put my kids first. And I said, well, how's that going for you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you the best mom that you can be because you're putting them first all the time and not doing anything for yourself? And she's like, no, I'm actually stressed out all the time and they can tell. And I said, okay, so it's not working out, so let's try something different. And what she did is she worked out a schedule with her husband, and she started getting up really early in the morning. And she loved it because no one was awake yet. And she would get up and she would do her art for an hour every single day. And you can get a lot done when you only have an hour versus someone who has all day because that's all they do.
Right.
I would argue that you can get quite a bit done if you do a power hour.
Well, it makes me
every
think
day.
of work expands to time allotted kind of thing, you know. We're always going to take the time that we have in front of us to complete the task. And I love that she quit letting her kids be her excuse and made them her why, you know. And that's really what it's all about. What's your why? And especially if you have children, let them be your why. The reason why you become, you know, a better parent, a better person. When you're a better person, you're a better parent.
Exactly. It's like, you know, the airplane. When they tell you, you know, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before your kid. Why? Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your kid, and you're both going to die. So you have to take care of yourself. I mean, it's part of being a good parent. And you know, my mom was very good at taking care of herself. I mean, she raised 4 kids, and she was a stay-at-home mom, and she was very good about spending quality time with us. But she was also very good about taking time to herself, and she would just say, you know what, we can play in an hour right now. I'm going to spend some time alone, so you need to go and entertain yourself. And we did.
That's what you did. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we're running short on time. Is there any other tip or any other information out of the book that you want to hit real quick, or do you want to tell everybody how they can get in touch with you?
Well, I'll definitely tell everyone how they can get in touch with me. So you can reach me. My email address is jennifer@bellybrain.org. My website is www.bellybrain.org. You can also reach me by cell phone at 408-250-1027. Yes, it's a strange area code. I used to live in the Bay Area, and I'm not changing my cell phone number. But those are the best ways to get in touch with me. And if I don't answer the phone, just leave a detailed message so I know who you are and how you heard about me.
And the book Soul Destination, which is now ready for purchase, where can people find this?
Yes, that is available on Amazon.com, so you can either get it as a Kindle download for $1.99, or you can get it just the paperback version you see there for $7.99, and that price isn't going to last long, so we'll be raising the price to $9.99 soon. So you might want to get it today because the price will be going up very soon.
Yes, and get the paperback version. Unplug from the Kindle, from the cell phones. Get the paperback version, and I feel like that would be the most authentic way to go through the book, really, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, unplug. Do yourself some good. Well, thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Jenny Parks. You can reach me at jennyparks@alignyourlifewellness.com. My phone number is 317-945-8268. Find me on Facebook. I always love to connect there. Thank you so much for being here. We're here every Wednesday at 1 o'clock p.m., so join us next week. I want to say thank you to Jim Wofford, Logan Street Signs and Banners, and the Wofford Theater for always allowing us to come here and just share with you what we love to talk about.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful week, everyone.